Hello and welcome to another episode of From QA Challenges to Innovation with PRIZ. I'm Debra, Senior Business Consultant here at PRIZ Guru, and today we're going to explore how the 5 Whys technique can enhance quality assurance processes. We have a special guest from PRIZ Guru, Dr. Thinkman, who is ready to share his insights.
Thank you so much for the warm introduction, Deborah. I'm delighted to join you today. Why don't you go ahead with your first question?
Certainly, Dr. Thinkman. Let's start with a fundamental point. What is the 5 Whys technique, and how does it differ from other root cause analysis approaches?
The 5 Whys technique is an iterative questioning method aimed at uncovering the underlying causes behind an issue by repeatedly asking why it happened. While it is sometimes seen as just asking the question 5 times, it is actually a powerful creative thinking tool that helps teams move beyond surface-level symptoms and reach a deeper understanding of why problems occur in the first place. This method fosters a logical exploration of each cause and effect relationship, ensuring that no fundamental source of the problem remains hidden. In comparison to other root cause analysis methods, 5 Whys is relatively simple to apply and doesn't require complex tools or software. Instead, it relies on systematic inquiry and team collaboration to analyze each potential cause. However, the value it brings goes far beyond its simplicity. Because every why is meant to drive creative thinking and encourage in-depth exploration, organizations that use 5 Whys effectively can capitalize on valuable insights into their processes, often discovering both problems and innovative solutions along the way.
That's a helpful clarification. Next, how can the 5 Whys technique contribute specifically to improving quality assurance in manufacturing?
In QA contexts, especially in manufacturing, the 5 Whys helps teams identify and eliminate the real reasons behind product defects or process failures, rather than just fixing superficial issues. By drilling down multiple layers, you discover systemic shortcomings, perhaps in standard operating procedures, maintenance schedules, training, or even design parameters that may not be evident from a single why. This level of detail is crucial to implementing corrective actions that truly prevent recurrence. The 5 Whys technique also instills a mindset of continuous improvement within QA teams. Rather than seeing defects and errors as isolated events, organizations begin viewing them as opportunities to refine processes and elevate quality standards. Over time, this builds a culture where asking the right questions is just as important as putting out the immediate fire. Such a culture reduces waste, cuts down rework costs, and ultimately leads to higher customer satisfaction.
Interesting. Could you elaborate on how this might look in industries such as semiconductors, chemistry, or metallurgy? I'd love to hear examples of typical problems where the 5 Whys technique is used.
In semiconductor manufacturing, where the production process is incredibly sensitive and steps are interdependent, the 5 Whys is vital for diagnosing yield losses and test failures. You might notice defects on certain wafer lots. Ask why they appeared. Trace it to a machine calibration issue. Then ask why the calibration was off. Identify that maintenance schedules were neglected, and so on until you reach a core procedural gap. Addressing that gap often leads to substantial gains in yield and reliability, which is critical in the highly competitive chip industry. In the chemical or process industries, a batch that fails to meet specifications often has multiple causes, from raw material variations to incorrect process parameters. By continuously asking why, you might learn that a sensor wasn't calibrated. It wasn't calibrated because the standard operating procedure was incomplete, and so forth. This not only fixes one batch problem, but upgrades the entire system to avoid recurrences. Similarly, in metallurgy, if a particular batch of metal shows cracks, 5 Whys may reveal issues in cooling rates or faulty equipment components, ensuring the discovered root cause drives long-term improvements.
That makes sense. Now, we often hear that 5 Whys can be too simplistic, even misleading, if we stop at a cause that appears trivial. How can we mitigate that risk and ensure the 5 whys analysis is thorough?
That's a great question, as it highlights a common misconception. Many assume that if you ask why 5 times, you're automatically done. But in truth, the 5 is a guideline, not a strict rule. And the real goal is to reach the fundamental reason of the problem, FRP. Some issues might require more than 5 iterations. Hence, we at PRIZ Guru advocate the 5 plus Ys approach, promoting additional questions if necessary, so that no aspect of the problem remains undiscovered. Teams should gather evidence and data to support each step of questioning instead of relying on assumptions. This approach ensures each why leads to a logical branch of inquiry, not just a guess. Additionally, it's vital to involve the right people, those who know the system or process intimately. The deeper the expertise represented in the analysis, the greater the chance of discovering all relevant factors and thereby arriving at the most accurate root cause.
Indeed, deeper exploration is sometimes needed. Now, PRIZ Guru has introduced a modified version of this tool, the so-called 5 plus. How does this differ from the standard approach, and what new features does it bring to QA teams?
The 5 plus Ys tool extends the conventional 5 Ys by encouraging users to continue asking why until they're satisfied they've truly found that core issue. Rather than limiting teams to 5 iterations, it introduces a flexible framework, allowing more probing where necessary. This more comprehensive approach reduces the chance of prematurely stopping at a superficial answer. Additionally, in our adapted method, a root cause isn't simply an endpoint that signals the problem is understood. Instead, we treat the root cause as a potential source of solutions. Each stage in the 5 plus Ys process can spark new ideas for improvement because you're systematically uncovering how the system behaves. This perspective is crucial in QA, where preventive measures and innovative improvements can be created once you fully grasp how and why a deviation or defect emerges.
That's helpful. I'd like to know more about this notion of the root cause being a source of solutions. Could you give an example of how that might manifest in real-world QA scenarios?
Imagine that in a chemistry lab, you discover that some of your final product batches have inconsistent purity levels, while standard 5 Ys might stop once you realize that an uncalibrated pH meter caused the deviation. Our approach goes a step further and views that uncalibrated meter, not just as a problem, but as an opportunity to think more creatively. Perhaps the underlying scheduling system for calibrations could be optimized or automated. In this sense, even as you're identifying what went wrong, you're simultaneously generating potential improvements. In the example, you might integrate an automated alert system for calibrations, or even explore advanced sensors that self-calibrate under certain conditions. Hence, each insight from the 5 plus Ys process leads you to a broader array of proactive solutions, strengthening your QA framework.
Understood. Another key feature you mentioned is the idea of machine assistance for the 5 plus Ys. How does that integrate into QA workflows, and what benefits do teams typically see?
Machine assistance refers to harnessing technology to facilitate the entire root cause analysis cycle, from gathering data to compiling, summarizing, and storing the iterative exploration of why questions. In a QA environment, that often looks like having the tool automatically fetch relevant production data or test logs, so the analysis is grounded in hard facts rather than guesswork. Beyond mere data collation, automated tools can help rank likely causes or solutions using a criteria-based scoring system. They can prompt additional lines of inquiry or remind teams if a particular angle hasn't been sufficiently explored. This not only accelerates the discovery phase, but helps maintain consistency across multiple QA investigations. Over time, the system becomes a valuable knowledge base that can reduce the likelihood of repeating past mistakes and ensure that every QA team member applies a standardized, proven methodology.
That's quite intriguing. Speaking of ranking ideas and solutions, how does that factor into the 5 plus Whys process? And why is it beneficial in problem solving?
In classic 5 Whys, the emphasis is on uncovering the root cause, but less attention is paid to systematically comparing and deciding on the best fix or improvement strategy. The 5 plus Whys method addresses this gap by incorporating a structured idea management process. As possible solutions arise from each layer of inquiry, perhaps changes to equipment, training, or process flows, these ideas are collected and ranked using criteria relevant to the organization, like cost, feasibility, or potential impact. This approach fosters an evidence-based decision-making culture. Instead of merely choosing the easiest or most obvious solution, QA teams can prioritize solutions with the greatest potential benefit. This helps allocate resources wisely and underscores that root cause analysis isn't complete until tangible, high-impact actions are chosen and implemented.
Shifting gears a bit, what do you see as the primary advantages for QA professionals who adopt the 5 plus Whys technique compared to sticking with more traditional, possibly superficial approaches?
One major advantage lies in moving from guesswork to factual, reasoned problem-solving. By systematically pushing for deeper insights, QA professionals gain a richer understanding of the systems they're working with, discovering interdependencies and hidden flaws they might otherwise miss. This depth of understanding translates directly into more robust solutions that address the true source of problems. Another benefit is that the 5 plus Whys methodology encourages forward thinking. When you reach a root cause, you often uncover potential upgrades and refinements that can significantly enhance process reliability, product quality, or operational efficiency. By adopting this approach, QA teams elevate their role from merely troubleshooting issues after they arise to spearheading proactive, innovative improvements in production and development.
That resonates with the idea of continuous improvement. Given that unexpected deviations or chronic issues can be tough to tackle, how does 5 plus Whys help manage those types of frequent quality problems?
Frequent issues such as recurring batch failures or minor but repeated product defects can often be traced to deeper systemic weaknesses. 5 plus Whys excels at revealing these underlying patterns. Instead of writing off frequent problems as part of the baseline, teams can methodically uncover the chain of events or processes that lead to these outcomes and isolate the shared root cause. In many manufacturing settings, as soon as a deviation or excursion occurs, a 5 plus Whys analysis is triggered. By making this a standard operating procedure, each incident becomes an opportunity to refine the process in ways that mitigate or even eradicate these chronic issues. Over time, adopting this method becomes a cornerstone of a quality system where systemic, repetitive problems are progressively driven out.
That's a great point. Could you share an example of applying 5 plus Whys to improve a chronic KPI in, say, semiconductor or metallurgy QA?
Certainly. In semiconductor fabrication, yield is a key performance indicator. Suppose a fab's yield for a certain microchip design consistently runs below target, but the reasons haven't been conclusively identified. Using 5 plus Whys repeatedly with each failed batch can help engineers spot recurring patterns. Perhaps the root cause is correlated with a specific lithography tool's maintenance schedule. Investigating that schedule, they uncover that calibration drifts occur more often than expected due to production pressures delaying routine checks. Once the team realizes this fundamental connection, they can propose solutions, maybe introducing automated calibration alerts or reallocating production so the machine has designated downtime. Over time, yield levels rise back to normal or even exceed expectations, because the deeper cause of chronic drift was addressed. A similar logic applies in metallurgy. Consistent surface cracks in certain ingots can often be traced to imbalanced cooling or subtle material impurities, and by repeatedly applying the 5 plus Whys approach, teams reveal those systemic triggers and fix them.
Excellent example. Now, beyond correcting existing issues, how does the 5 plus Ys foster innovation and process optimization within QA context?
By pushing teams to question the status quo at each layer of causation, 5 plus Y serves as a natural driver for creative thinking. If a team identifies a root cause in outdated SOPs, they may seize that opportunity to rethink and restructure an entire workflow. In the process, they discover more efficient procedures or cutting-edge equipment that not only resolve the current problem but also elevate overall productivity or safety standards. Additionally, the act of systematically analyzing how the system fails often reveals new avenues for improvement. QA professionals come to understand the subtleties of a process better than anyone else. This knowledge of each step and its vulnerabilities becomes a fertile ground for new ideas, be it automating certain tests, developing advanced sensors for real-time monitoring, or introducing AI-driven inspection systems that detect deviations faster. In this sense, problem-solving and innovation become deeply intertwined.
From your perspective, at what stage should teams apply the 5 plus Ys technique in their QA processes?
In many cases, 5 plus Ys is triggered whenever there's an unexpected deviation, a product defect, or any event that falls outside standard control limits. This is a well-established practice since it provides timely responses to acute issues. The technique is very nimble, so it can be used relatively quickly to bring a cross-functional team together and delve into why something happened. However, some organizations also benefit from using 5 plus Ys in a more proactive manner. They might periodically examine known high-risk processes, even if there haven't been recent incidents, to identify potential gaps or latent weaknesses. By systematically applying 5 plus Ys even to hypothetical problems, QA professionals can uncover vulnerabilities that might cause trouble down the line, thereby preventing problems before they arise.
That's a helpful blueprint. What do you think of the role of collaboration when using 5 plus Ys in manufacturing QA? Who should be involved to maximize results?
Collaboration is absolutely critical because each question in the 5 plus Ys chain demands input from people who have the closest knowledge of how processes or equipment actually work. If only management or one department handles the analysis, they might lack the on-the-ground perspective. So it's best to involve operators, engineers, maintenance staff, QA experts, and sometimes even suppliers, depending on the nature of the problem. When teams have representatives from across the relevant functions, their collective wisdom ensures that each why is tackled from multiple viewpoints. This leads to more accurate causal links and a broader pool of potential solutions. Not only does this deliver a better outcome, but it also fosters unity and ownership over problem resolution across the organization. Everyone shares responsibility and celebrates the improvements that come from pinpointing genuine root causes.
You mentioned PRIZ Guru earlier. How does PRIZ Guru's platform support this cross-functional team approach in QA specifically?
PRIZ Guru's platform is designed to facilitate a structured approach to problem-solving that teams can follow collaboratively. It includes guided question sets that walk teams through clarifying the problem, brainstorming potential causes, and then systematically applying tools like 5 plus Ys or 5 plus Ys expansions. Since it's all online, multiple stakeholders can contribute simultaneously or asynchronously, eliminating many scheduling hurdles. Moreover, PRIZ Guru also offers methods to evaluate and prioritize the solutions generated during the process. With each idea or proposed fix, you can rate its feasibility, cost, and likely impact on QA goals. This ranking keeps the team focused on the most promising interventions and helps unify people around data-driven decisions. The entire journey, from problem definition to the selection of a remedy, is recorded in the platform, ensuring knowledge doesn't get lost and can be referenced for future improvements.
Great! Let's discuss knowledge retention. How does systematically documenting 5 LCY's outcomes benefit the QA function over the long term?
Documentation is vital because it turns individual problem-solving experiences into an organizational memory. If you don't record what was discovered in each step of the 5 plus Whys analysis, you risk having the same mistakes repeated, particularly as staff move roles or new people join. By capturing the logical flow, each question, each answer, and the eventual solution, teams create a reference that can be revisited the next time a similar issue or symptom arises. Additionally, from a continuous improvement standpoint, these documented analyses become case studies. QA managers can look back over them to spot trends or recurring themes. Maybe certain procedures or pieces of equipment pop up repeatedly as root causes. This long-term insight allows companies to strategically invest in systemic fixes, such as upgrading outdated machinery or rewriting SOPs, rather than handling the same issues multiple times.
What would you say to QA leaders who are hesitant to invest in additional training or tools to support an enhanced 5 Whys process like the one PRIZ Guru offers?
It's understandable that organizations might have budget or time concerns when considering new approaches. However, investing in a more thorough 5 Whys process is less about adding extra work and more about amplifying the return on problem-solving efforts. The ability to quickly and effectively get to the true root cause prevents costly repeats of the same issues. Moreover, the platform's structured workflow actually saves time in the long run. Rather than conducting scattered brainstorming sessions and maintaining separate documentation, the QA team has a single cohesive tool that organizes their findings, streamlines collaboration, and preserves critical insights. When leaders see fewer defects and reduced downtime, they typically recognize that the improved approach to root cause analysis was well worth it.
Let's talk about 5 plus Whys in the context of product improvement. How does refining a system with this tool lead to better KPIs over time?
When a QA team thoroughly documents each analysis, they're essentially building a reservoir of organizational knowledge. Over time, recurring issues decline because the true sources of problems, like miscalibrations, training gaps, or poor maintenance, are systematically addressed. This means that crucial metrics, such as defect rates or rework percentages, naturally improve. Additionally, having this deeper understanding of the process often reveals latent opportunities for innovation. Teams might discover, for example, that a test could be automated or replaced with an alternative method. Implementing such improvements not only solves the immediate problem, but also elevates the overall performance of the production line, accelerating growth in key performance metrics.
Speaking of performance metrics, can you share a success story of how 5 plus Whys helped with chronic problems in manufacturing and the impact it had on the bottom line?
Certainly. I recall a semiconductor manufacturer facing ongoing yield drops over a period of months. Traditional approaches only offered temporary solutions, and the downtime and failed chips were beginning to cut deeply into profits. Once they shifted to a systematic 5 plus Whys framework and documented every step, they found that much of the problem stemmed from inconsistent equipment calibration caused by rushed production schedules. By integrating a more intelligent machine assistance tool to flag calibration intervals, they stabilized the manufacturing process, raised yields back to target levels, and slashed their scrap-related losses. Financially, they saw a remarkable return on investment in the form of millions saved across the product's life cycle. This example shows that the real value of a thoughtful 5 plus Whys approach is in how it can transform firefighting into proactive, long-lasting solutions.
Impressive. Let's wrap up with a question about teams that are brand new to 5 plus Whys or 5 plus Whys expansions. What's your best advice for them?
If you're just getting started, keep it simple and let the logic of repeated why questions be your guide. Don't worry if you don't hit exactly 5 Whys. Go until you and your team feel you've uncovered the most fundamental reasons. Make sure to involve people who truly understand each step of the process, so your questioning doesn't get stuck at superficial answers. Also, embrace documentation. Record each question, each answer, and any insights that emerge. whether they're about the root cause or potential improvements. Reviewing that documentation is critical for learning from the process and preventing future recurrences. If possible, use a structured platform like PRIZ Guru to enhance collaboration and idea evaluation, but even a shared spreadsheet is a start. The key is to develop a culture where why is a positive, constructive inquiry, not an accusation.
Thank you for that summary, Dr. Thinkman. My final question is more forward-looking. How do you envision 5+Ys evolving alongside new technologies and manufacturing trends?
As manufacturing grows more complex, with IoT sensors capturing real-time data and machine learning aiding in predictive analytics, the classic 5 Whys structure will be supplemented by these cutting-edge tools. The data collected by sensors will feed directly into root cause analyses, giving QA professionals immediate and detailed insights they can use to refine their why questions. In the broader view, I think we'll see 5+Ys methods helping teams navigate this complexity in a structured way, ensuring that technological solutions remain grounded in genuine root causes. Thanks to platforms like PRIZ Guru and other decision support tools, a new era of deeply informed, collaborative root cause analysis is within reach. The essence of asking why relentlessly stays the same, but the depth of data and the speed of analysis will increase, driving more powerful transformations in quality assurance processes.
Wonderful insights. As always, Dr. Thinkman. And for those listeners who are facing complex problems in manufacturing or any other domain, remember that PRIZ Guru offers tools and methodologies to help teams systematically solve problems and drive innovation.
That's right. Thank you, Deborah, for another great conversation. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in to From QA Challenges to Innovation with PRIZ. Until next time, keep innovating